What about Latu? He's just dropping everything. I mean, Brad. I mean, it's like this guy was a third round draft choice, and I know he hasn't played a lot of football, a lot of offense. He played defensive end when he first came to Bama, but I mean, he can't catch the ball right now. I mean, he talked to us the other day after practice. He said all the right things. He's like, hey, there's no excuses. I got to catch the ball. It's my job. I'm going to get on the jugs gun. I'm going to stay after. I'm going to work at it. He said all the right things, but he's got to get it going as far as catching the ball. This is a very competitive tight end battle. I mean, there's Kittle, who we know is the one. But then Charlie Warner's a try-hard blocker, and Dwelly's a special teams stalwart. And Braden Willis, as you mentioned, has really looked like maybe he could be tight end too. And there's Fumagalli here. So, I mean, Cam Latu is nice, and he's got some potential. He's big, he's strong, he's pretty fluid, pretty athletic. But there ain't no room for scholarship on this particular 53-man roster. How do you think that's going to shake out? You think Latu gets cut as a third-round pick, or do you think he gets it going in the preseason?
I I agree with the evaluation. Latu really stood out to me as a guy who just was suffering with drops early on. I mean, you go down to the warm up line when they're catching balls at like 50%, he's dropping them. You go to one on ones, he's dropping open passes. You go to team, he's dropping open. Like it was a trend. And like that was the biggest concern for me because I didn't love the Latu pick. I thought, you probably could have got him a little later in the draft. Based on his skill set. And so, but I do, I don't want to be all negative. I want to state some positives, like in one on ones. What I really liked about him is how he set up his routes, and how he really was able to sell. Like, say he wanted to sell inside, but he's really going outside. He could really sell inside and break back out and create separation with not having high end speed. But when the ball was perfectly thrown to him, he would drop it, and it was like an egregious drop, and it was just like it's so I don't know. I've said it multiple times. It looks like Braden Willis was the third round tight end, and it looks like Latu was the seventh round tight end. Like it just looks flipped. Um, I do see that Latu has some potential, but that potential will never be realized if you can't catch the football. And it's like we kind of know what Warner is. Like you talked about him being like try hard blocker. Like that is Warner's biggest attribute of making this roster is that he can block. He can be that guy coming across the formation and all these Zorro different play like formations, and he can pick up the defensive end. He can kick out the defensive end. He can pull up field and get to the second level, get to the linebacker, get to the safety. The 49ers know that they can operate their run game with Warner in there. And I don't know where that puts Latu because I think there's a big question. Can Latu do that? They don't know. He hasn't done it in games before, and he can't catch right now. So I don't think they cut Latu just based on the he seems like a good guy. Like you talked about it. Like I think they believe in the character. I think they believe in the person. So they're going to give him an opportunity. But I think that is where they keep four tight ends because I don't see a world that exists where Kyle Shanahan goes into this season with Kittle, who's already on the shelf with the abductor strain, and then just being like, oh, well, Willis and Latu, those are my guys. Like he needs someone who can block. And that's why I'm like, it feels like at this stage, they're like Willis has earned the roster. They're not going to cut Latu because I still think they believe in the person and he can improve. And they got the draft capital investment into him. But you need Warner as your Kittle blocking insurance. So I feel like they keep four, and that has a direct impact on how many wide receivers they keep. And obviously, Ray got hurt, so that opens up the door for someone else because I think Gray did enough to solidify his spot. Same thing with the draft compensation that they put into him. Similar conversation. So man, I wanted to see more out of Latu though, to be perfectly honest. I definitely I had him as a faller on my Risers and Fallers show just because man, he really was struggling with drops.
Yeah, Joey Nichols says Latu's a young player, relatively new to the position, going through some confidence issues. He's going nowhere, though. They'll be patient as they should be. Well, we'll see.
Kind of
I'm
agree
not
with
sure.
that.
I don't feel nearly as confident as you. Carlos says, wasn't O.J. Howard released by the Raiders? They could get him for cheap. I kind of like Payne Durham, the Purdue tight end in the draft. But you
Yeah.
know, there was a lot of good tight ends for sure. Braden Willis has impressed me.